Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a football Thursday. It's football every day, really, man. I can just keep saying football.
It's soon going to be not, though.
It's soon, you're right. Soon there will be a loaded NBA slate and some spring training action in baseball. And there's going to be so much more to talk about here on the Mojo Market Report. But the main focus right now is the divisional round, the NFL playoffs. It's here. I do want to remind everybody that we are available for download as an app on the old Google now. So all you green texters out there, you now have access to everything that we're seeing each and every day on the
Android.
app.
The Android.
Yeah, what did I say?
Google.
Green texters? Well, that's like Google Store or something like that.
Yeah, the Google Play Store. But I think that might have gotten confusing for anybody that doesn't have the Google phone. Nonetheless, Android, Google.
Nonetheless, if you don't have an iPhone, you now can also download Mojo.
Yes.
So do that and
all
invest
smartphones.
today.
All smartphones.
There you go. All smart. There's not a third option, right? There's just only
there is a Google phone. That's the reason why I corrected you, because there
okay.
is a Google phone, but I think it's powered by Android.
So anytime you want to download an app on an Android, it's usually the Google Store. So
Yes.
I'm not wrong in that regard.
No.
Okay, good. See, I'm not
We're all,
catching up with the times here.
we made it. It's football Thursday, so we don't have any games to talk about. We figured we'd talk about the.
Yeah, we'll just talk about the differences between phones. What would you say your favorite font is? No, here we go.
Saquon.
So Saquon Barkley. Well, yesterday we dove into the quarterback matchups. Today we're going to run into the running back matchups. And then tomorrow, obviously, we'll dip right into the full games. We'll talk about the receivers and pass catchers tomorrow, but also preview the entire thing. But we're going into our running back matchups, ladies and gentlemen. And it starts with the first matchup that goes down on Saturday afternoon. And that is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, yesterday, there was a lot of talk about Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes, rightfully so, both quarterbacks, both leaders. Interesting comparisons here when it comes to the running games of both of these teams. I want to say, Chris, they're very, very similar. Now, when you look at a Kansas City ranked defense, they're ranked 7th. They give up 107 yards a game. And Travis Etienne kind of picked up where he left off in the regular season, where he basically averaged 5.1 yards a carry. He rushed for over 1,100 yards. It was a very quiet 1,100 yards, I feel like. He can, I mean, would you give him considerations for Rookie of the Year?
No.
Okay, good. So we're still on Travis Etienne. We look at him.
I think Brock Purdy might end up.
Get out of here.
I think he might.
No way, dude. Come on. It's not postseason.
I understand, but who?
What are you, an owl? That's what my dad said.
Three. So if you know, you know.
Yes. No, but I mean, Rookie of the Year. No, it's got to be Kenny Pickett.
No, Purdy gets it over Pickett.
You are out of your mind. This is running back show today, folks. Travis Etienne is the running back for the Jaguars up against a guy like Isaiah Pacheco, who obviously, there's your potential Rookie of the Year. Another one, Pacheco out of Rutgers. Nobody expected him to do what he did this year. Pacheco goes for 830 yards, 5 touchdowns. But the best part about both of these guys, including Jerick McKinnon, who, by the way, is averaging 9 yards a catch out of the backfield, which is just stupid. But when you look at both of these guys, very similar styles. You look at the Jaguars' run defense, they're letting up 112. So both of these guys, both of these teams letting up over 100 yards a game, which is like common at this point. I mean, it's not like it's a alarming stat. If you're giving up $150 every game, then I would say, like, all right, you have a problem. But now both of these running backs, I'm not saying gun to your head, because very, very similar in price, share price. Not a lot of future value out of a guy like Jerick McKinnon because he's been around the league so long. Is there any plays in specific that you would do in this running back matchup?
Well, I would say I would be avoiding the Kansas City running backs in this one, but I won't because I'm only in on McKinnon. I'm not going to be in on Pacheco because I don't think Pacheco gets enough out of the backfield catching the ball. I'm looking at the Jaguars. They're like top 5 in adjusted line yards against defensively. So like they're tough to run on. They have some matchups in their division where teams just run 30 times a game. So I think it's a little skewed with the plus 100 yards a game because per play, they're actually in the top of the league. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to stop McKinnon from catching the ball out of the backfield, specifically in the red zone. I have a hard time going in on ETN in this one because I think they're just going to have to throw a lot. When you're playing against the Chiefs, unless you could run the ball and establish it early, and then conversely keep them from scoring every single time they touch the ball, which has been seemingly difficult. I'm not in on ETN if they're playing catch up, and that's the way I look at this game. There's a chance that the Chiefs completely beat them out of beat the brakes off them, and there's not even a game early.
Just 35 catches out of the backfield for Travis Etienne, so that's not really their forte when it comes to looking for pass catchers out of the backfield. He's not the guy. They do have a couple guys they splash in there a couple times. Jermichael Hasty, it's just a couple other role players on this team. The Jaguars offense kind of runs through Trevor Lawrence and the passing game, so that's why, yes, I agree with you. The only guy, I'm telling you, there's something about Isaiah Pacheco this year, just a hard-nosed runner. I'm in on Pacheco long term. I really do think that he's found himself a role with the Andy Reid offense, which is hard to do considering guys that are, in and out of that locker room as far as the running backs.
Well, he managed to get rid of Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I think he's coming back, actually. He's being activated or whatever. He's been hurt for a while.
Point being is even when Clyde Edwards-Helaire was active,
he wasn't much.
He wasn't getting the ball as much as Pacheco was. So Pacheco's clearly got the roster spot. They're not really looking for a running back in the offseason, I don't think, because of the fact that, they might have to replace McKinnon because he is in his walk year. So
I wonder what team's going to pay him, almost.
Probably the Chiefs.
It's going to be an overpay, I think, for McKinnon. I think McKinnon's going to get into a little bit of a bidding war because if he is that Swiss Army knife out of the backfield like he's been this year. Remember, Jerick McKinnon was a promising star coming into the league.
But here's the reason why McKinnon doesn't get paid.
He's in his 7th year, so
he's not going to get paid big because one, he's in his 7th year. Two major knee surgeries already in his career.
That's true.
And let's not act like he hasn't had opportunities on good offenses before and not succeeded. I think it's a really good spot for him in Kansas City. He might get overpaid by somebody else, but at the position, I don't see it. Look at the amount of backs that are potential free agents this offseason.
Yeah, they're out there. There's a lot out there.
McKinnon is more of I wouldn't say he's more of a gadget guy. He typically is a gadget guy, and there's no better place for him to be as that than Kansas City. So I think that he should stick around there if he wants to prolong his career successfully.
Got it.
But I'm in on McKinnon and no other running backs in this one.
Okay. Shifting gears over to the NFC. No, I'm going to stay in the AFC, actually. I'm going to go right through the AFC as we move on to the Bengals and the Bills. Now, this one's interesting because you got Joe Mixon, who's done his thing for his whole entire career. He's been a stud running back. He goes for 814 throughout the season. Last week, there's a lot to be left on the table, on the plate. He did not eat last week. He only rushed 11 times for 39 yards and caught 3 balls for 17. Joe Mixon all of a sudden was a non-factor in their first win against the Ravens. So that's alarming to me because I see that it's only going to get tougher going down the stretch. The Bills are a better team defensively, wholeheartedly. I don't think there's even a question about that. And of course, on the other side of things,
they're definitely better stopping the run.
Yeah, and on the other side of things,
not by much though.
Devin Singletary usually turns it up around the playoff time, which is good. He had 819 yards last week, 10 rushes, 48 yards. So a lot of these running backs struggling to get things going in the first round of the playoffs, and maybe testament to the better defenses that are approaching you. But now you look at the Buffalo Bills defense, they're ranked 4th against the run. You know what I mean? So they're only giving up just over 100 yards a game on the ground. I don't know. When I look at this one, I see, if I had to think about a high-powered offense that can click again with a star, I would lean Mixon here as far as comparing the two, because a lot of those rushing yards get cut into in the Buffalo side of things because Josh Allen's a runner. You know what I mean? So he takes off and runs a lot. So in this one, for me, I'm all in on Joe Mixon, and I think that he has to have a bounce-back game here.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just think I think that there's a chance for Mixon because I think the Bengals are going to play well in this game. But I think in this one, it's the quarterbacks. It's the stars of this show right here. It's going to be the QBs and the receivers. Both teams, Buffalo particularly, stops the run really well. The Bengals have stopped the run really well over the second half, and really the only time that
they're in the top 10.
The only time that the Bengals didn't stop the run well was when DJ Reader was out. If you look at the games that DJ Reader has played in, he's one of the best run-stopping
I agree.
Interior linemen in the NFL. So when he's there, it's a big difference. I think James Cook, if anybody on value alone, is the one that he's been getting a lot of burn down the stretch. He had a touchdown in last week's game against the Dolphins. I think James Cook is probably looking like the RB1 in Buffalo next season, or at least an increased role from what he had this year. And conversely, I think that means the exact opposite for Devin Singletary. I think he's not a free agent. I think he's got to stick around one more year. But
James Cook last week, yes, he gets the touchdown, but only averaging 3.3 a carry on 12 carries. So, again, not a lot of running room in round one.
It's the volume that I'm looking at, though. What did you have the totals?
Yeah, it was 10 for Singletary, 12 for Cook.
So, James Cook
out-carried
him, and I think that points towards James Cook probably being the lead guy going forward. At the entry-level price that he's at, especially I know that he wasn't drafted
right now to get
super
him
high, I think you could get in on James Cook. And if we're looking at a high-powered offense that really doesn't have any team needs outside of running back, but a guy that they're kind of leaning on a little bit more down the stretch, it looks like James Cook could be the RB1 in Buffalo. I know that they haven't been the best running team as far as the running backs go, but that could change.
That's been their MO forever, I feel like. I honestly think about it. Like, I guess when Shady McCoy, who's really promising broadcasting career or whatever he's trying to do, when he was over there, I feel like he was okay. You know, they're solidified RB1. But, like, outside of that, you think back, historically, the Bills have just never had.
Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, that's true. Lynch was there, too.
They got rid of him in, like, a year.
To Seattle. Wow. Yeah. No, wow. I completely forgot that Marshawn Lynch was a Bill.
Yeah.
Whew, and dropped honestly, the ball there.
The Packers dropped the ball there because he wanted to go to Green Bay. He was teammates with Rodgers in college at Cal.
That's right.
And the Packers wouldn't do it because of character issues. They must have known that
there's character issues, but he's still a monster.
They must have known that he kept Hennessy in his backpack. They also must have known that in 15 years down the line, he'd be parked outside of a hotel in Vegas on rims and only rims and say, what? I didn't do nothing. That was one of the most hilarious videos. I'm not condoning what he was doing.
No. Don't condone with anything Marshawn Lynch. But the guy is an absolute legend on and off the field.
They were like, sir, you have no tires.
I know that. What? Well, I didn't do anything wrong. All right. Moving on to probably, if you had to think out loud, like I'm doing right now, I'm looking at the Giants' rush defense, and boy, oh boy, is it bad. You know, it's 27th in the league. They're giving up almost 140 a game. And in come Miles Sanders, who's had himself a significant year. Miles Sanders this year, 1,269 yards on the ground, 11 touchdowns. He's had himself a really good year quietly. Again, it's one of those things where you look at that Philadelphia Eagles offense and you're thinking right away, Jalen Hurts. And you're thinking, oh, the trade for A.J. Brown and, oh, Devonta Smith. And, wow, Dallas Goedert's great. I think Miles Sanders doesn't get enough credit for all that he's done for the Eagles. And now in come a Giants team. Yes, the Giants played well last week, and they bottled up Dalvin Cook for the most part. They really did. There was a non-factor, a couple chunk plays, nothing big. But, like, in come another beast of an offensive line, so if I had to maybe put my finger on the one running back in the entire playoffs left, and obviously we'll get into another matchup after this, but like Miles Sanders might be ranked one for me as far as running backs with the 8 teams left.
CMC.
Besides CMC, I would say Miles Sanders is the best running back. I'm trying to put the hex on old Christian
Miles Sanders, look, I think he's been vastly overlooked this year as well. The market value kind of says that he didn't really get much credit for what did he have, 20 touchdowns? It seems like guy scored 2 touchdowns a game down the stretch.
Well, he definitely had 11 on the ground. So,
11 touchdowns, fine. I was exaggerating anyway, but 11. Here, double-digit touchdowns out of a running back.
Still a big thing.
And I don't know if he even is higher than he was on his entry-level price this season. I think he's gone down on the year.
That's significant, and that's the old app is going to be taken out for that one because I'm going to be very upset if that's the case because that means I would have lost all opportunities. Well, then again, I didn't lose any opportunities considering the fact that he hasn't moved, so it doesn't really matter. If you got in on...
so he started a year ago today. Miles Sanders was at $11.53 today. Oh no, he's at $11.53 now. A year ago today, he was at $13.11. So he's down for the year. I'm looking right now. Yeah, so he's at $11.52 at January 14th. So if I go back to the beginning of the season, which would be around September 14th, 13th, 12th. So he's down on the season. His dip came right after. His dip actually happened right after preseason. So, like, there was a significant dip on Miles Sanders. Again, one of those guys that I would definitely get in on now against the Giants. Again, I wonder if they watched the early show and they were like, oh, he really thinks Gainwell's great. Because I was talking glowingly about Kenneth Gainwell around September, right?
Right. So
that is hilarious.
The Eagles' rushing attack is good. Gainwell gets on the team.
Look, I think that there's
Boston
vast
Scott's still there,
overlook
yeah.
on the value of Miles Sanders, and I think that the Mojo Market is going to catch up soon. So be in on that now. He's been down for way too long, and he's done so much this season, and he's still not managed to climb back to that price that he started at. I feel like that's a definite buy. They could potentially win the Super Bowl this year. I know you don't want to hear it, but they can.
Whatever. Is what it is.
Where are we going on the other side of the ball?
We're gonna go right to Saquon Barkley, which is, by the way, you would easily be in consideration for, comeback player of the year. You know what I mean? Like this dude. No, it's gonna be CMC. When I look at Saquon Barkley this year, he knows where he's at contract wise. Like he knows that he needs to get that pay. The payday's coming for him. I think 1,312 yards, 10 touchdowns, 57 catches through the air throughout the season. Last week, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 receptions for 56 yards. The dude put up 100 all-purpose. Saquon Barkley is the guy that Daniel Jones is going to be looking for when times get tough. You know what I mean? Like, and you said it yesterday when we were talking about Daniel Jones, which, by the way, horrible edit on my part. We got flamed.
Oh yeah, I got dragged.
Flamed on social media on Mojo because we're almost as if we were saying Daniel Jones is better, just overall better than Jalen Hurts. That's not what we were saying.
So wait, I just want to hear something real quick.
Sure.
All right. So Saquon's numbers, what were they?
Saquon over the year, 13-12 on the ground, 10 touchdowns, 57 catches for 338, so about 17, almost 1,700 yards all purpose. And in the postseason, scores another 2 touchdowns.
How many attempts did he have?
295.
Wow. All right.
That has to be his most of his career.
Now I'm looking at Miles Sanders' season. The only thing that he's worse than Saquon in is catches. He has 30 less catches, but he's better than him significantly in yards per carry. He's got one more touchdown, and he's got about
35. 35 more attempts. Barkley does.
And 35 more yards.
Interesting.
Only.
All right. So
it's just to give you an example as to like the value of why I think Miles Sanders is vastly undervalued.
I'm with you on that. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Eagles right in the middle of the pack, actually dead middle against the run, where they're giving up just over 120 yards a game. So this could be a nice matchup for Saquon, and I think Daniel Jones looks to him a lot on the early going. Again, if the Eagles get off to the start that they typically get off to, Eagles' first half bets this year have been like insane. You know what I mean? People are like, they get off to nice starts. Sometimes they struggle, but when they don't, they're clicking. But if they do that against the Giants this week, Saquon, I don't want to say he becomes a non-factor because they will abandon the run if they need to come back. But a lot of swing outs to Saquon Barkley. When the ball's in Barkley's hands, the dude's electric. You can't take anything away.
Can I give you guys a little bit of a sneaky one here?
Matt Breida.
No.
Okay.
Boston Scott.
Again with this. He scores every time against the Giants. He does. He does score every single game against the Giants.
Check the stats.
Check the stats. Boston Scott could be your sneaky,
I think he had a
sneaky
3
play.
touchdown game against the Giants in his career.
I mean, then yes, he is their father.
Yes.
That's usually how it works.
Papa Scott.
So yeah, that's the Eagles and the Giants. That's exciting. We'll definitely break it all down tomorrow. Definitely excited about that one. And of course, last but certainly not least, the Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers. Those 2 running backs comparable. 3 running backs if you really want to get technical. CMC, 4 running backs if you really want to get technical. It's CMC and Eli Mitchell and Zeke and Pollard.
5 if you count Debo.
Very true. And yeah, and 6 if you count whatever receiver we decide to do a reverse with and get stuffed for -2. So take that into consideration as well. On 3rd and 1, right? Don't get me started. Zeke over the course of the year, 876. Tony Pollard gets over the century mark with 1,000. The postseason was rough. Yes, last week, Zeke couldn't find anything. I will say this. When it comes to Zeke, he might not be the stat guy anymore. And that for me as a fan of the Cowboys, I don't care about that.
But if the Mojo Market gives you any credit for pass blocking in this game,
then he'd be up there at the top of the charts. Last week, Tony Pollard goes for 15 carries, outrushed Zeke by 2. 77 yards to Zeke's 27. So over 100, including Dak Prescott, obviously, with his runs. They went over 100 against Tampa Bay. Against San Francisco, it's a whole other ball game. San Fran's ranked, 2nd against the run. They're only giving up 80 yards a game. That's very significant. Their corners are their bugaboo right now, so we'll get into all that tomorrow. Their secondary and backside safeties are great. Their corners left to be desired. But when I look at this game, it's got to be a big Pollard day out of the backfield, swinging, passing when that rush is coming, Bosa's coming. Unfortunately, a lot of these running backs might be used to clip Bosa first. They might not get into the flat like they'd like to. There's a lot of adjustments to be made, but flip side of the coin, I mean, CMC has had himself one hell of a year, and that's one of those multiple weapons they have over there in San Francisco where it's like, who are you going to cover? Okay, cool. You're going to cover him? Watch this. We got this guy. So there's a lot of talent over there. And when I see the San Francisco 49ers do what they did last week against Seattle, it's alarming if you're a Cowboys fan.
I think there's going to be a stark difference in terms of the style of play that they face this week with San Francisco. And obviously, I know Tampa Bay's defense has tended to be physical this season, but really it was up and down. They only ran the ball 7 times against Dallas in the first half. You might see 7 rushes in the first drive out of the 49ers. True. So be prepared for that, obviously. And I think it really comes down to is 49ers' ability or inability. On both sides of the ball, it's going to be one in the trenches. I think CMC is a buy because obviously how could you not be? Look what he's done this season. He's been RB1 basically every other week that he's been a 49er. He's at least first, second, or third in total points for fantasy. The guy's just been killing it. So, yes, CMC, I'm in on that, and I think they're going to beat him up early with the run. And then check downs are going to be all day. So Dallas is going to have their hands full stopping the run early, and then if they can, that's when they'll be able to have some success if they push Brock Purdy into some passing downs. But I really think they're going to have to sell out against the run. So
you got to load the box today.
They're going to be selling out against the run, and they need to make Brock Purdy beat you, right?
Yeah.
That's how you're going to have to win this game. I'm not positive that they're going to be able to, but I do think it's going to be a very close game. So CMC, I've been
Which
in
would
on,
mean that the running backs, both running games, will be in this the entire way.
I wasn't in on CMC. I called myself out on it a couple times on this show. And then after the third time I called myself out, I said, you know what, I can't keep calling myself out. Let me just go invest. So I have a little bit invested into CMC. And I worry about the Cowboys running game in this one, obviously, because
Cowboys are also 22nd against the run, so
we talked about the stat yesterday. The 49ers, teams that play the 49ers are 0-15 in the week after they play. That's very physical football team that you got over there. So
it is.
I have a hard time with the closing speed of those defenders to go in on anybody. If I'm in on anybody in this game, and I know we're not really getting an opportunity to talk pass catchers because we're diving directly into the previews tomorrow, it's CD. They're not going to really have anybody that could cover him. I like CD. I've not seen a receiver in football run more drag and crossing routes than CD Lamb runs, and that's what the 49ers struggle with, crossing over into zones. CD and the offensive line have to be in sync here, and Dak, because as those long drag routes take time to develop, Dak could be on his back. But I'm going to be in on CD for the Cowboys tentatively, because I am going to pick a player.
We'll talk about that tomorrow. But yes, I mean that's the running back situation in Dallas right now against the 49ers. It seems a little murky.
When you see the 49ers defense, it looks like there's like an 8-yard gain to be had. But
their closing speed is incredible.
The closing speed is insane.
And you know what? Dallas, I tell you right now, Dallas has struggled to make, just in last week alone and most of the time this season, the open field tackle, man. Every 1-yard gain turns into a 4-yard gain all of a sudden. You're like, what the hell? You had him dead to rights. What's happening? So CMC, I expect him to have a better game than the guys on the outside. I do. I know that sounds crazy considering, the cornerback woes of the Cowboys, but I think CMC has himself a fine game. I think Brock Purdy looks his way a lot because of the fact that the pass rush will be in his face. So expect Christian McCaffrey and a whole lot of him. So that's your running back comparisons for this divisional round.
And CD.
Saturday, Sunday, and CD Lamb out of the backfield. So do yourself a favor right now and follow the old social medias. That's right. The same place that we got crushed on yesterday based off our takes right here on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, @Mojo, MOJO. Join the Discord, all right? Do that because you'll find out who people are going long on, who people are going short on. Also, sign up right now. You can do this on, you can check out mojo.com for more information about it, but you could sign up to be one of the first persons or people to try out this prop bet liquid thing. They're in kind of like a beta phase right now, so we don't really want to dive too far into it because it could be very, very, very lucrative for people if they think that certain guys are going to have just over a certain amount of yards. So it's it's a fun way to actually pay attention to the games itself individually rather than investing guys' long-term careers, almost like a prop bet, right? I mean, it makes sense. So you can do that starting soon. They're testing it over the weekend, so it's going to be a very fun time. Hopefully, you're smart with your money and you've made some money courtesy of us every day. We've been here for, I think, 87 times now, if I'm thinking about this correctly. So we've done a lot of research over here at the Mojo Market. We're trying to put some bucks in your pocket going forward. So, got anything else for today?
Go Pack Go.
I mean, that doesn't count. So Dave Sturchio and, of course, Chris Gueci and A5 behind the glass here at Chop Studios. This has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. We're back here tomorrow for a full preview. It's our last stop before we get to divisional round Sunday. And then before you know it, Monday morning, we're coming in here, and there's going to be 4 teams left in the NFL. And God willing, one of them will be the Dallas Cowboys. I'm starting to psych myself out of this game. I really am. I'm just like, there's no way, right? There's no way that's could possibly happen. But there's definitely a way. There's definitely a way. There's multiple ways.
There's a way.
There's a way. When there's a will.
They got like a 40% chance.
Oh, I'll take that. I'll take that. The world is on San Francisco right now.
Well,
They are.
the money?
The money's not. The money's on Dallas because of the spread.
Yeah.
But the world are picking the 49ers to win this game. It's time to get a little revenge from last year. That'll do it. We'll see you guys tomorrow.